Sure, let's go ahead and do that while we got everybody here. Welcome everybody to the stream. Today we have Chisgule right here above me. We are duo casting this Ark of Osiris. It's a pretty neat idea we came up with a couple days ago, talking about how we can make the Ark of Osiris even more exciting, having two perspectives going on, two people casting, looking at everything going on the map, and that way we don't miss a single thing. So Chisgule, I see we are about 2 minutes before our arc. You want to introduce our contestants?
Yeah, baby. Yeah, baby. This thing's about to start, so let's get a look at this here. Oh, I can't actually see
the
who
rankings.
All is in it. we can show HAKA. We don't know who we're up against. Hug all, kill all. Kind of an amazing name. Almost 1 billion power. This is Kingdom 149. So it's not a new kingdom. It's not an old kingdom. Somewhere right in the middle, right? I actually didn't realize there's like over 250 kingdoms now, right?
Crazy, unbelievable. And have you seen the people in this kingdom?
No, I've not gotten a close look at the members of this alliance and this kingdom. It looks like they've got at least one person who's got T5.
Oh yeah,
maybe
crazy
two,
stuff.
maybe KP. Like you could theoretically have unlocked T5 at 43 million power.
I don't know. The Devil's definitely not up there. Devil's definitely not up there. There's another guy here, 41 million power. KP, 43 is a little lean. 43 is lean. If he has tier 5s, it means he has no troops.
Well, dude, we had a player in our kingdom who had 40 million power and had tier 5s.
That's crazy. That's someone who just pushed before he even had troops.
No, it's because of war.
Well, that answers that.
We've had so much war that, like, they basically had killed all their troops, and we're starting over.
That answers that. Guys, by the way, if you guys hear any issues in sound, either on my stream, Chisgule stream, something's loud, something's not, let us know in the chat. That way we can adjust things as we go. 10 seconds before the Ark of Osiris.
I'm pumped. I'm pumped too. What kind of turnout do you think we're gonna get here for these alliances?
Ooh, I forgot to mention, these guys, the guys they're fighting against have more power, but only 26 people. They have, yeah, so it's gonna be really, really interesting. These guys are matched up against 26 people at the max. So every time we've seen Ark of Osiris, there's a couple of people who don't show up. This time, if a couple of people don't show up, that's a big problem.
It sure is. I really feel like it's better to register with fewer people that you know will be there, right? Like, I don't know how matchmaking actually works, right? But I assume that if you have more power, you're more likely to get matched up with a higher power opponent. And if that's true at all, you should not spam register people that you don't know for sure will be there, right? Like, it should be 30 guaranteed attendees.
Yeah, but you know, it's crazy that guaranteed is one of those things where you never know what happens tomorrow. Like, we had someone not show up because he got in a car accident, and it was like, what can we do about that, you know? Like, stuff like that. There is a Raymond Reddington on their side, so shout out to Just the War. UNB are our opponents, I guess. I see. Actually, yeah, go ahead.
We can get a look on their side and just start tapping into players and see what they have. This guy, Itil's got almost 48 million power. There could be some T5s there.
Oh, probably, right?
I would think so. Depends, though. I mean, like, if you've never really had war, you could easily have enough T4s to get to that power level. I think Legend Ronnie is that power level, and he's just getting his T5s. So,
did you notice that everyone has 0 kills? It zeroed out everyone's kill count.
Huh.
So pretty much yeah, I just saw that too. I guess the kill count on Ark of Osiris is actually how much you have killed in the Ark, which is pretty neat.
Like that.
That's pretty neat.
Yeah. And I guess kills in this case refers to severely wounded units, since no troops actually die in Ark.
Correct.
Yeah. All right. I mean, well, it looks like these guys are showing up in decent numbers, but look at that back row of they got like one guy in their back row instead of.
I think they're supposed to have one guy on the back row, but I'm more worried about, you saw in front of him, there's like 2 spots open, and then on the side another 2, so it looks like they got, what, 20 people here?
Yeah, red squad HAKA's got nearly full squad, it looks like.
Oh boy. I have a feeling you and I are going to have a good chat here, and it's not going to be about the Ark.
Man, so what I want to see at the start of this Ark, by the way, is everybody fanning out I want to see speedy units going to all these objectives. And there's some pretty cool techniques I've seen to get your allies to the front line after you capture the obelisks. Essentially, you capture the obelisk, and then only 5 people can teleport per obelisk. But you can put a bunch of troops in those people's cities that are going to be teleporting forward.
True.
So you could have a whole bunch of people in there ready to start rallies, already reinforced in the city. See, that's kind of an interesting idea.
That's a great point. And you know, one of the crazy things I've seen happen last time around was that someone was really, all we can say is ballsy enough to make this play. And as soon as the gates opened, like right now, he sent a full cavalry with his best commanders to the enemy's obelisk. Now, most people thought, you know, all I got to do is send one cav to the obelisk, get it so I can port in, and that's that. I actually saw this guy taking an obelisk early, like first probably like 7 minutes of the match, taking an enemy obelisk, his teammates ported in, and the game was over. So I'm wondering if anyone will have the courage to make that play, and if people are aware that they gotta hold on to their obelisks. This is not just a one ping and go away thing. You should be keeping an eye on it.
Yeah, I'll point out that we had a strategy where we went for the obelisk, and it failed pretty spectacularly one time. It was an extreme success the other. And I think you really have to have a high troop count relative to your enemy, or be willing to use a lot of healing speed-ups to get that to work successfully. Because you've got to cover now a lot of territory, and you have a long walk if you need to get to the far side of the map. I will point out there's one outpost here for our friends in red that no one is going to yet, and maybe that's because, I don't know, some folks are going to this caravan, and then they plan to jump over. I will say red to get the first structures, though. That's,
yeah, there's 2 structures for red. Looks good right now. It looks like the blue team is kind of not only taking their times. I don't see, just like you said, I don't see people anywhere near the obelisks. They have marches that are actually past the outpost, going for the obelisk, while the outpost is just sitting there. I see 3 marches already going for the obelisk rather than capturing the outpost real quick, which is minutes wasted and points. This is going to be a lead for the red team.
Yeah, I'll point out that you only have to have one person go to the obelisk.
Correct.
Everybody else can go somewhere else. And that somewhere else, by the way, should be going forward to the Shrine of Life, the altar, and the Shrine of War. There's no reason to have multiple armies hanging out in the obelisk. Get your one, cap it, while that 3-minute timer is going. Get those armies over to the other objectives, which only have 150 seconds left, and no one's near any of those. That said, blue's starting to pick up some of those crucial objectives now.
See, what you said is one of the most important things we have to mention is that the fact that people are not going straight for altars early. You can see that if you zoom in into any of the altars right now, the altars are protected. So even if you try to attack them, it will not let you. So a lot of people are discouraged to send troops here very early on. Guys, this is a free movement map. You can send your troops anywhere nearby by just tapping on your troops and then tapping on the area. So you don't really need to go straight to the altar. You cannot go to the altar in the first 5 minutes. But if you send your troops that way, by the time the altar opens, they'll be much closer to get the altar. So it's very important to send troops up front, even though you can't send them straight to the building.
So I'm getting some notifications here. It's a bunch of people are saying that we've got some lag. I'm going to see if I can get a look at what's going on there. My stream health is looking really red for some reason, so we're going to fix that.
So is mine. Let's look really quickly.
So is yours.
I'm thinking this is Discord. I'm thinking this is Discord.
It's either Discord or it's YouTube. What we could do, I'd hate to turn off your camera, but that might be a thing that we need to do is...
Yeah, I think that we're going to have to go solo cameras here.
Alright, we'll just make it... Let's try this real quick. We ditched our... Gecko, I miss you already. I miss your face. Here we go. We're going to switch that off.
Yeah, that was a valiant attempt. And while we're at it, I'm switching off the camera, period. That way, as soon as I turned off the camera, everything went green. Oh, that answers that one.
Let me just go into my Discord as well. We're still waiting for people to get into position, so we haven't missed first blood yet. But I'll point out, I like that our friends in HAKA have pushed forward exactly as I suggested, and they've got 20 seconds to capture some of these objectives, which they are about to do.
And the cool thing is that their timers, their cooldowns, already finished. They have two outposts already ticking for points. So this is exactly what we were talking about, getting the lead early. Right now, this is all money. Points in the bank.
So, let's get a look here. So, Unbroken has got 23 players, whereas HAKA has 29. So you can be in a lot more places in the map at the same time with that many more players. That feels 6 more players feels pretty good. That's like 25% more players than Unbroken has. Big deal. And now we see some of what I would like to see, Shrine of Life and the Desert Altar being captured, as well as, yep, there it is, Shrine of War and the Sky Altar. And meanwhile, look at this on the blue side, they were not forward.
Look at this. This is crazy. You can see that the Shrine of War and the Shrine of Life. Man, what are these guys doing? Sky Altar not even ticking for time yet. This is exactly what we were talking.
Look how aggressive they're being from HAKA. They captured the enemy's Desert Altar in the upper right. And a rally going in from T Grumpy to the Obelisk. Aggressive.
Look at this thing. They're going for the Shrine of Life on the blue side as well. The red team is on its way there, and they will most likely beat the blue team out there. There's 2 marches walking. It's pretty funny. One from the Obelisk, and one is just going from the Desert Altar, and they're just racing for it. It looks like the red team will pick up another Shrine of Life as well, which means every set of troops that the blue team now loses will take much, much longer to heal. So these side buildings are super important. Because
that's true.
All these buffs are everything you need to keep playing. If you run out of heals, game over.
Yeah, it's a 25% healing buff. That's a big deal. That said, Blue City's now porting in, hopefully to support this Obelisk. Big rally coming in.
Oh, boy.
They've scouted it. So we've got a solid 1.5 million in the rally hitting this Obelisk.
Look at it getting chunked. Look at how fast it's getting chunked. It's already at 1 million. Oh, no.
This was aggressive. This was an aggressive play that is honestly accomplishing what it set out to accomplish. So many blue armies are back here. Ooh, and they broke up the rally.
Damn.
Now what happens is kind of interesting. I think these guys in red need to get away while they can.
It looks like T Grumpy was not having any of it. He's here to fight. And look at how many marches he's actually occupying. All the marches are walking out of the Obelisk now to fight T Grumpy. Look at how many blue marches are just staying by their own Obelisk while the red team picked up all the altars to all the Shrines of Life. And all that's missing is a Shrine of War that the blue team is still trying to hold on to with dear life. And then life gets really rough.
The first occupation is a really big deal, huge amount of points. And it looks like all those points are going to go to our friends in red in a moment, which is going to give them a pretty big edge. I don't see those points on the scoreboard yet, so maybe you have to actually have completed the capture. Yes, that's right.
Yes, you do.
You have to complete it. So they're getting just an unbelievable number of points with this pressure that they've created. And I'll point out that rally earlier on the Obelisk was a full cavalry rally. You know, something I've been thinking about with regard to rallies, think about a rally as a way of getting your troops from point A to point B in a manner that cannot be harassed, right? Like, you can't harass that rally. You can't touch it. So if you want to move a large volume of troops, be it infantry or a mixed army or whatever, down the battlefield to a strategic location, you rally that location, you get that, like, 2 million, or even, like, look, I don't know if this has been your experience, but my experience has been that frequently in Ark, we send way less than a full rally.
Yeah.
It's you'd rather have the rally get going in a minute than wait the 5 minutes or 10 minutes to fill up, right? Like, you only have an hour of combat to get the points. So, yeah, partial rallies are a thing here.
See, but I agree with you. I think that in here, on this battleground, rallies get a new meaning because you've opened another dimension to what a rally can be. It can be a mean of transportation. If we look to use a rally for transportation, paying the 5-minute fine to get as many troops out to the other side of the map can potentially pay off, as long as, of course, it is something that the Alliance is aware of. When a 5-minute rally comes in, this is where you send as many troops as you can because we're going to the other side of the map or something of the sort. it really opens up a new dimension on how to use rallies in the battlefield of Ark of Osiris.
Now, I'll point out that because HAKA has both of the Shrines of Life, even though they're taking a lot of severely wounded units by being forward like this, they've got a 50% healing speed boost, which seems like a lot. You combine that with some solid Alliance technology, and you're in a really good position. And I honestly think, whoa, what's going on over here? If I go to the other obelisk, it looks like they're doing some city burning too. They've got a bunch of armies going in to attack this player. XU, XU, XU.
Wow, that's crazy. I was looking at
power player.
I was keeping an eye on the other altar at the other obelisk because people still are fighting out there. But in between that, the red team just snuck in a little bit to the bottom obelisk, and people are dipping out. Look at that. Someone just ported away from that. Oh my goodness.
See, this is tough. What I think Blue has to do here is ignore the open field fighting by their obelisks, stay in their objectives, use rallies as the conveyance mechanism to get from point A to point B so that they can hit some of these objectives and force HAKA to go on the defensive. Because, look, like, HAKA doesn't have to have any defense in any of these structures right now. They can put all their armies forward, play very, very aggressively. And sure, like, one speedy blue army could perhaps sneak by and take all this stuff, but they're putting on so much pressure that that's not what the folks in blue are doing. They're just sort of being forced back, and they're playing the game that HAKA wants them to play.
So
which is fighting by the obelisks.
I completely agree with you, and you know, if you could look at your map for a second, enlarge it on the top right, you can see that the red team established a straight line, right? You can see they took all the altars, all the Shrine of Life, everything. They have a straight line against the blue team, and they are essentially harassing on the bottom side. What the blue team should be doing right now is understanding that the main focus of the red team is on the bottom side of the map, and they have the top obelisk still there. Port your way out there, start cleaning up the altars, start cleaning up the top portion of the map, because you can see the red team is so active at the bottom portion that I can promise to you that a desert altar is not really being protected. And there is a guy from UNB testing my theory as we speak. If you look at the desert altar that HAKA is holding at the top side of the map, there's a siege siege march walking towards
siege
it.
March, baby. You know, we laugh, but I realized that I sort of made this mistake in my last Ark of Osiris. Is that, you know, we really
don't give the value.
Should have been. Oh yeah, no, they're not. There's an army defending.
There's a big boy army defending. Oh yeah. My goodness.
Oh, geez, that siege march just got wrecked.
Let's not look at that. Let's not look at that.
But like, look, I've got a march of siege units that I should be reinforcing a rally with or reinforcing a structure with, right? Like, they should be anywhere but in my city. But that said, the Ark of Osiris is now capturable. It opened up in the middle, and UMB is there to grab it. They're not going anywhere while they hold it. And this is kind of interesting. Oh, they've also now taken back the Shrine of War. So not only do they have the Ark, they can take it somewhere pretty safe. If they get that thing to the Shrine of War quickly, which now maybe they're starting to move, they are, then they can get themselves a little bit back into this game. But even if they capture the darn thing, they're going to be down on points.
So at this point, the game is not over yet, okay? There is 43 minutes left, and there's a lot of things that can be done still. The big problem for the blue team right now is that the red team makes 760 points per minute more. So even if they take this Ark right now, that's 4 minutes, and that gap is closed back up, you know? So that's 4 minutes worth of grace period they got themselves. So at this stage, getting the Ark is great. It does close down that difference between them a little bit. But if the blue team really doesn't start going for point-making objectives, the altars, this game's going to be over. Chisgule, did you know that if you hold all 4 altars from the beginning to the end, no matter what, you don't focus on anything else, no obelisk, no any other building, you still win the game?
Say that again. You just hold the altars, you win the game.
The way the way it works is that you have 1,190 points overall on the map, and altars are 600. So yeah, you have more than half.
Yeah. I won't yet say what my strategy is going to be for the next Ark of Osiris, but definitely is going to involve some amount of focus on those altars. Definitely.
Well, you guys gotta also focus on building up troops, my man.
Oh my gosh. Yes, the math of Ark of Osiris. Are you ready for this? Okay. So if both sides bring 30 players, and one side has 2 marches per player, and the other side has 3 marches per player, how many armies different is it for each side, right? It's like 30 armies difference. It's like 50% more troops.
Mm-hmm.
That's a big deal.
It's huge.
Anyways, this carrier is going to get completely caught out of position. HAKA, Honey Badger mode, did not care that they had the Ark, did not care that they were going for the Ark. Now attacking the carrier, getting that solid 200% extra damage into the carrier, and this just completely melted.
I love seeing this. I gotta tell you, this is one of my favorite things about the Ark. I honestly love...
melting.
Exactly. I think that the meta on how to carry the Ark is still very young. People are still not understanding and getting a little bit gritty. Like, I've seen an Ark where 4 people are trying to pick up the Ark at the same time. Guys, someone is ticking ahead of you. Why are you even trying? He will get it before you. Start preparing for what to do after. So it seems that people don't really know how to carry the Ark of Osiris yet, which is pretty crazy. It makes me laugh every time that someone does exactly what this guy did, which is just pick it up and try to run. Like, it makes no sense.
Yeah. I mean, I'll say this. Having someone do that asks a question of the other team. Can you deal with it? And this is a gaming concept that I like, particularly from Magic the Gathering, where, like, is it better to have questions or answers? And there's an easy answer to someone picking up the Ark. You just march over and kill them. Assuming you actually go do it. But if no one actually answers the question, will you devote marches to dealing with this, then it's just a free cap. Now, if you're going to take that strategy of just sending one army to try to get a free cap, I wouldn't have sent a full march like they did. That full march got completely obliterated, and they lost a lot of troops, a lot of severely injured from a maneuver like that. I think you're much better off sending a small army like this one player did, too little too late.
That was hilarious, by the way. Did you notice how much damage he did to that full cavalry march?
No, how much did he do?
He was doing like 700, 800 while the cavalry march was doing 900s. And it's just, he took a little, that little guy in the caravan did a little bit of damage to Tuck. Tuck is pissed. That was just a Dragon Lancer in there and just did a massive amount of damage.
I mean, like, look, when you hold that darn thing, you're extremely vulnerable. It does not take much to do serious work. So you have to protect it. And, like, I like the strategy of having one army go and get it. I'd also have one troop in that army rather than 200,000.
Yeah, so in my Ark, nobody really cared for the Ark, which was hilarious because all I did was the one trooper I sent to the top outpost to capture the outpost early on. It was my fastest march, and I just went to the Ark and picked it up and just walked it back with one tier 1 cavalry. So it was pretty hilarious, but I've been seeing a lot of people doing a lot of different things, and you can see right now that HAKA is taking the Ark, and there's some blue, well, that was a scout, but there should be, in theory, blue marches going after it, right? I've noticed that what people do, which works much better, is rather than follow the Ark on the same path it's going, you should be going around and trying to cut it off. I agree. Since it's marching much slower than you can actually make your way up to like a forward caravan by going around this narrow channel and cut it off from the front. Most people don't look up ahead.
Yeah. So I got a comment in my chat here that your volume was too low, so I turned you up a little bit on my end. Gecko, if you look down just a little bit at the HAKA Shrine of Life, it looks like there's a rally going toward it, but that rally is getting melted on its way over.
Wow. Look at that health bar. Are we gonna bet if he's gonna make at least one hit on the Shrine of Life or not? You think he makes it?
I don't know that this is the right strategy.
I don't either.
I mean, this is like full Honey Badger mode, attacking a rally like that. Maybe they've scouted it and seen that it's actually pretty small.
Massive solo points, though. Massive solo points for everyone involved.
Look how much damage they took in these armies that are hitting it. That said, guess who gets no skill attacks?
Haha, they didn't make it.
The army in blue gets 0 skill attacks. So maybe it does make sense to attack a rally. And there's a bunch of armies that were in there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 armies that were in that rally. So that could have been 1 million troops, and they were hitting it with what, 200,000? armies, 200,000 marches. But this brings up an interesting point. Okay, so I just talked about how a rally is a safe conveyance mechanism down the field, except in some ways it isn't. You get no skill attacks at all. That's kind of a big deal, actually.
I think that if you're going to use a rally to march your troops, it's not going to be one of those things where like, okay, I'm sending you, I'll see you in 15 minutes when you get there. You're going to have to keep an eye on it, and you're going to have everyone in the rally keeping an eye on the rally, because at any point you should be breaking and battling. So you can actually try to be a little sneaky and send a good amount of armies, a full rally. People will not really know what's going on. If they try to even do what just happened and you break on time and all the armies that are part of the rally attack in the same method, like you guys set yourselves up a list of who to attack first, who second, you can actually make a very, very good trap out of rallies. Like an insane trap.
If you look in the upper left, by the way, at the contested Sky Altar, currently red, being swarm attacked by blue, I think this is kind of interesting. You know, that rally they just sent really should have gone to their own Sky Altar, I think, rather than to the Shrine of Life that is deep into the territory of HAKA. That said, this swarm attack was, I thought, being really successful. They've backed it off. Why would you do that?
I don't know why. What happened? They were doing so good, and there's more people coming in. But this is the one guy, you know? This is the one guy. It's only one guy doing this. So if we were to look at the mentality behind this dude, he's like, I am getting toasted. I'm getting toasted. Like, that's
He also can't defend it.
Exactly.
He can't defend it. He can only put one march in, and look at all this support that's coming from red. He'd never be able to hold that himself.
This guy actually had a great idea, but at some point, it didn't age too well, I think.
No, this is a 24 million power player, so this isn't a T5 who could actually maybe pull that off.
Big mistake was made there.
Yeah, I will say I see... Okay, good. It looks like now the Ark is being slowly marched to the Shrine of War. They're going to capture that pretty soon. And I think from the position of HAKA here, they just want to score as many points as possible. You know, there's a strategy where you hold the flag rather than cap it to prevent anyone from getting points from the Ark of Osiris, but they don't need to do that. Now, if we go up to the top, holy moly, big combat by the Shrine of Life. There's a rally here, and there's a ton of open field combat. Now, why would I assume there's open field combat? If you already have a march in the rally, if you already have a march in the Shrine of Life, and you have multiple marches in the area, well, the other marches should be in that open field.
It's crazy that the blue team is kind of unaware of what they're doing, because I see marches coming in and out. There's 3 marches right outside the Shrine of Life going back and forth trying to figure out whether they want to engage or not. And this is where teams fall apart. This is where your indecision and your lack of self-confidence in what you're doing can really harm you. This is inexperience. This is inexperience on a battlefield. I think that when you make a decision like the ones these guys made, Mercy, something like that. There's a couple of guys here who just came in. I can't read their names.
Yeah, it's hard to see them all in the moment.
By the time they come in and go and get indecisive, that rally was getting chunked. And look, the Shrine of Life could have been taken out if there was the support from the beginning. A lot of these red marches are relatively low. Once you get rid of 2 of those, it's going to be a swarm on the 3rd one, and that rally could have won this. The blue team still is ahead, though. The blue team still seems to be ahead.
Yeah, I'll point out this player Itil, who's leading the rally, is a 47+ million power player. Maybe
and he does have tier 5s, by the way. They were saying in the chat that he does have tier 5s.
Ah. Okay, so big hitter leading the rally with cavalry, by the way, which I think is kind of interesting. We've got a Barca on the defense, which might mean that there's a T5 player defending the Shrine of Life. That, or it's someone who hit VIP, I don't know, 13 or 12 and was like, oh yeah, I'd like to use Barca. I don't know how I feel about Barca with the first 2 skills maxed. I guess he'd be pretty good, wouldn't he?
I don't really think that Barca is someone I would. Ooh, and look at that Shrine of Life just breaking apart.
There it is.
Finally, the blue team getting a little bit of a breather as they can start healing up troops a little quicker and try to get into this. As far as Hannibal Barca is concerned, by the way.
Hold on. Let me cut you off. Zip over to the obelisk to the left-hand side in blue. There is some crazy action going around there. And then, okay, sorry. Talk to me about Barca.
hold on one second. Before that, Barca, is this the obelisk going down? It looks like it is about to be the obelisk going down. See,
I don't.
Barca,
Are they hitting the obelisk?
I
just
saw
like
that
battling around it.
they're trying to clear the obelisk first, right? They don't want people to keep sending troops in and out like we saw in your war and the wars that I was covering, that people just keep sending straight into the buildings and you can't do nothing about that. I think they're clearing out the field first. And once they do that, they'll take out the... You can see KP's rally is already marching. They just cleaned up the area, so the rally has an easier time. Hannibal Barca is a weird one, because kind of like Moneymoto, he does have a price tag, but his price tag is obnoxious, considering that you got to get to VIP 14 first.
Yeah. I've been making my way to VIP 14. Spoiler alert.
I mean, you did the push. We talked about the push. You did the push. I'm still holding on a little bit for I'm still holding on for my boy Saladin, man. I'm gonna have a hard time fighting for him in Kingdom 58. So when that mightiest governor comes in, there's gonna be hundreds of millions of resources flying in the air trying to get that thing with 8 tier 5s.
I just want to point out that there's a lot of battling going on around this obelisk, and I think there's a mistake being made here, which is that folks have their armies positioned so that they're all getting hit by the AoE from Sun Tzu, and as the attacker, especially in the free movement mode of Ark of Osiris, and now we see somebody maybe starting to do this, with the free movement mode, you really should position your army behind the obelisk, behind the area of effect of the attack or the defender, so that you're not just giving them free extra damage onto your armies.
So one of the most interesting things to really point out, and I think it's time for us to actually say this as it needs to be said, guys, keep an eye on commanders. I know that most of us know how to pick which commanders we will be using for fights, but it goes very, very unnoticed the amounts and types of troops, of commanders that our enemies are using. Keep an eye on them too. The fact that you can send a full infantry that is your strongest march, that's cool. But if you see that there's a full infantry in the obelisk as well, and you got to do something to counter that, sending your best against their best is not necessarily the best idea. You want to send whatever counters the commander your enemy is using. Just like you said, Sun Tzu, nobody even noticed them. Look, they still attack from the same direction. 3 marches are getting hit. It's just because they don't pay attention to Sun Tzu.
Yeah, this guy's just taking hits for no reason, even walking up to it. And the other guy, the other alliance members, sort of running away here. You know, we had this happen the other day. We were scouting some cities. We got Mighty Governor going on right now. The city had like 200 million total resources, which is pretty nuts. Oof. Yeah, baby. Not like 200 million of each, but 200 million total, which is a lot. That's like 50 million of each, right? And so we go to rally the thing, and a whole bunch of people position their army right in front of the city because they couldn't make it in the rally. Well, it turns out the defender had Herman as the primary and Sun Tzu as the secondary. And when Sun Tzu started doing skill attacks, all these folks that were just standing there were getting hit. But not only were they getting hit, now they're giving him rage, which means the rally's taking more damage than it would have otherwise. It was actually not good. We took a lot of extra damage that we didn't have to take. And, like, you know, innocent mistake. Easy to see how you'd think, like, this is easy loot. But we could have done that a little better.
Yeah, for sure. Again, I think I make this mistake just as often to not really notice what commanders I'm coming up against. And how to... One of the things that I've seen in Kingdom 82, one of the videos I covered about the double rally on a fort... These guys actually told me they positioned their troops away from each other on completely other ends of the center fort because they were using buff and debuff commanders around the rallies so they can get extra buffs. But they were also debuffing the center fort, and they didn't want to debuff each other. So they placed their armies in such a strategic place that the debuffs were only hitting the forts and the buffs were hitting each other. It was really, really cool to watch. And if you take a look, by the way, at the top obelisk, there is massive fights going on in here. The red team is trying to clean up the area here as well for the blue obelisk at the top while taking the Shrine of War at the bottom. Oh, wow. Boy.
They're hitting that Shrine of War. I was just watching the combat going on there. I mean, at this point, these guys can start to swarm cities. I don't know that... mean, I guess a 20 million power player would be a place you could hit, but I see a City Hall 24. That's probably where I would be looking as my starting point. At this point, they're so far ahead. They can really start to do kind of whatever they want, even though there's 30 minutes left. I feel like the folks in blue would have to use so many healing speed ups to get back into this game from a point standpoint.
Chisgule, I'm sorry to cut you off, but go look at the top obelisk right now. The red team is swarming a blue player. There is probably 30 marches on him. I don't see what size he is. It's idle. They're going for idle. And listen, look at the amounts of buffs. There are so many Charles Martels out there. There are so many Richards. There's a Joan in the mix as well. Look at how many buffs. The red team finally pulled away from Dan, whoever this is that they're hitting. A lot of them are coming in and out and hitting this guy, but look at all the beautiful buffs, all from that Joan of Arc, from those Richards. Look at that. That's so cool. It's just popping buffs.
I really do feel like you got to coordinate somebody to be giving that Joan of Arc buff, especially for something as important as this.
Mm-hmm.
Man,
I'm loving this.
Super relevant.
I'm loving this.
Pretty nuts.
This is I'm loving seeing all the green because there has to be more than one Joan of Arc here, and there's definitely more than one Richard. By the way, not only Joan of Arc, but the person taking the hit, let's call it, and bringing Joan of Arc can actually go even deeper and bring a Cleopatra in as well. After her first skill is maxed, she can do a little bit more extra goodies for us, and it's just crazy. Unbelievable. They're still hitting this guy. He's still not zeroed.
There is a T5 CPO off to the side trying to do some work here. I think it's T5. I don't know if that's T5. The players got T5, but those did not look like T5 units.
And Dan goes away. He's finally zeroed. They zeroed this guy.
Yeah, I mean, I think his wall was burning, and you teleport after only a minute or two once your wall starts burning.
That's crazy.
Dude, look at this infantry army. Those, I think, are not T5s. Those are just T4 infantry out in the open field. Where is he even going?
Going back to wherever he is. He's not even paying attention. This is a march walking back home.
Look at this Richard the First. Where's he going?
He's just marching home. He doesn't know where home. He doesn't know that he will never make it home. But look at how many marches are hitting it and how much damage he's doing back. This guy can actually take all these 4 marches out of here. Look at that. Yeah. Now he finally realized what's going on.
Yeah. Well, I'll point out this is the problem with infantry that you're seeing right here, is that it has no escape mechanism once they get slowed and once they get injured, right? So the reason I love cavalry is that there is a talent called Charge, and it gives you a 30% move speed boost when you're below 50% health. Big deal. You can actually escape a situation that's bad. In this case, he was actually able to walk back to his city. But imagine if you've been caught out of position on the other side of the map. You're just dead with infantry. You could be caught out of position and have, 100,000 severely injured units because you were just in the wrong place.
So I'm gonna say something a little bit out there, and hopefully nobody takes this the wrong way. But the meta of full infantry is one of those things that Ronnie really, really preaches about. But one of the things most people don't probably know is that Ronnie's in Kingdom 16 from the time Kingdom 16 was a thing, which means he's been playing this game for quite some time. And on top of that, when you go look at his kingdom, when he won his Charles Martel Mightiest Governors, he was doing 20 million points total. We're in kingdoms right now where on training day, we see people with 40 million points. So it's hard to explain the infantry meta because it's very expensive. Ronnie had the awesome time of being at a time and place in the game where it was much easier to get your Charles maxed out, to get your Richard maxed out. But most of us are nowhere near that at this point per se, like most of the people watching this and including myself. So you can see they're very tanky.
I got a big old smile going on because you're saying nobody's near it. I actually am super close to being able to expertise Charles, and I have expertised Richard the First. I'm having a tough time deciding.
That's exactly my point. That's exactly my point. If we look at how people have progressed in terms of growth, you've closed the gap with Ronnie substantially, and then there's a bunch of us who still stayed within the top 10s. I'm gonna change that pretty soon. And by the way, the bottom obelisk keeps getting hit and reinforced. It's just funny going on here. Let's go back into the Ark for a second.
Combat by the top obelisk, it's nuts. Let's go. I'll go to the bottom obelisk.
The obelisk was taken. Yeah, it was taken.
Woo! Oh boy. I mean, the fat lady is singing. Even though there's 20 minutes left, the point differential here is so big that even if blue took all the objectives, I don't know that they could win.
I'm gonna go ahead and say the fat lady already sung, man. This is over. 22 minutes in, we have a red team doing what is this, 780 I think points more than the blue team per minute. There's 22 minutes left. Even if you take all the points you'd get, if you take all the points on the map right now, everything, okay, you'll get another 22,000 points total. As I mentioned, there's 1,190 points across the map. Let's say another 2 Arks of Osiris on top of that. You still can't catch that. At this point, red team. Yep. At this point, red team has to go for solo points. I only see 4 people over 10K. There's plenty of time for everybody to make their ways at least up to 6K points. You do not want to be missing out on the extra rewards because you guys already won the game. Now's the time where you start fighting for your solo points.
Yeah, I agree. Both sides should be looking for those solo points. And I think, you know, we appreciate everyone's patience in the chat because Gecko and I, in a situation like this, have so much to talk about and so much to focus on that we
haven't even been paying attention to the chat.
Yeah. But now with the remaining 20 minutes in this battle, I think you and I can start to also shift to addressing questions in the chat. And I just want to point out to my subscribers, if you haven't checked out the Gecko's channel, definitely go and do that. I am a subscriber of the Gecko. Recommend 10 out of 10. Give him a like and subscribe. And let's start to look at some of these questions. I'll fire off a couple from mine, then you can fire off a couple from yours. One question from that Portuguese dude. My Cao Cao is 5511, and my Pelagius is also 5511. Who should I use? And I think that's kind of a weird question and kind of interesting because the second skill on Cao Cao is barbarian damage, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. But at the same time,
if you're doing PvE, then the obvious choice is to go with Cao Cao. And if you're doing PvP, are you better off with Pelagius?
Chisgule, I'll cut you off for a second. Just move your camera to the desert altar on the top side of the map. There's a rally, a tier 5 rally going in there. Ooh. We can have it going on in the background as we keep answering questions.
Nice. Yeah, I think if that Pelagius was expertised, Pelagius would be the obvious choice. I still think actually your 5511 Cao Cao might be better.
So here's my take on that one, okay? Pelagius should be a very simple one to max out, primarily because he comes in through events. You can get him on the expedition shop more often than not. I see him all the time there. He's actually the commander of the week at some point where you can spend all your expedition coins on him. So, and I get him on those gold boxes all the time. So maxing out your Pelagius you should be focusing on your epics on your Pelagius if you're looking at cavalry, but comparing him to your Cao Cao, at this point, I'd still say Cao Cao is better.
Dude, look at that. Blue took the desert altar.
I wonder how long they'll hold.
There were all these armies in red that didn't even bother to go in to reinforce the altar. There were only 3 armies in there, so they could have reinforced it, and they didn't.
I think that what they were looking for is trying to score some points by hitting the rally. But by the way, that's a huge mistake. One of the things people don't realize is if you are in the building, your troops are also fighting and killing. And at the same time, the rally hitting you only does the attack damage on you, and that's that. When you're hitting a rally from the side, you're also going to get countered. So why would your blue team take double damage? Both the counter on you and the main attack on the desert altar. If you can get in and save that double damage, 1.5 damage, right? Because counter is about half the strength. So I don't see the sense in having armies swarming a rally unless you're much stronger and you're able to just get away with it. But if you're just like these guys, I don't know. Go into the building.
You know, the only time I've seen that make sense is in kingdom combat. And this is like real stakes, right? Deaths are happening when a city's getting rallied. And we've had T5 players attack into large rallies that are hitting a player city because I guess they've got the resources to heal up their troops. but the players defending the city and supporting the city defense are having deaths potentially, and so they're trying to mitigate that as best they can.
See, I don't really know what the blue team can do at this point. I'm looking at the...
well, they rally stuff. They have to rally stuff.
True.
I mean, I don't think they can come back, but they have to rally, just like they did. They took a desert altar, and at this point, maybe Red is just like, yeah, whatever, you can have it.
See, but my question is, how many troops does the blue team really have left? Because most of the match, both Shrines of Lives belonged to the red team. So if the blue team was wasting their healing speed ups, man, oh man, they wasted a ton of them. So how much more can they squeeze out at this point? That's why, even though the altars are so important points wise, you have to get those shrines going. I notice people leave that Shrine of Life at the bottom of the map for last almost 90% of the time. I think it happened in this game as well, where the last two ones were the Shrines of Life on the two edges. Why? That's your healing bonus. Every moment that passes is moments that you got to be healing. So I don't know.
Yeah, so let's talk about healing for a second. Holy moly.
Move your
rally on the Shrine
of War. There you go.
Yeah.
And look at those red marches chunking. They're about to chunk that rally out of existence. They don't care.
They know, honey badger mode, right? They don't care. At this point, yeah, it doesn't matter. This is fun to watch, though.
Of course.
I'll call out something interesting, which is the question of should you use healing speed-ups in Ark of Osiris? Because you only have so many, right? You need your healing speed-ups for War in your kingdom. You need your healing speed-ups probably for KVK. And I can tell you, when we had War in our kingdom, I used a lot of healing speed-ups. I mean, maybe my situation's a little unique where people were really going after me.
Oh, no, it's not unique. People go after... trust me when I tell you, if someone decides to zero you, you're screwed in this game. There's absolutely no way to shield for as long as it takes for someone to back off.
Yeah, well, yes, and as the king, I can't shield ever. Kings can't shield.
That is true.
So I just have to eat it. I mean, you know, there's ways around that, right? You make your alt king and then shield up on your main. But, like, I don't know. During the war, I didn't really do that. Actually, once. I don't think I did that once. I just put my troops into flags.
I think
that was my strategy.
I think that what you knew that was going to happen is pretty simple. Ooh, I'm getting rallied. Content.
It's true.
So it's like, listen, I can take the rally. I got the speed ups. I'll speed up so I can take another rally because that's 2 videos in half an hour. Fantastic. Let's get it. I like it. I like that approach, by the way. It's exactly what the content creator community should be thinking about. How can we cater the action and experiences we are experiencing to our community so they can enjoy it as well? So that's the move, man. When I watched your war videos, and I watched them all, I'm like, man, this guy's going crazy, recording almost everything. I see you in the background with your work clothes. You just got home and just sprinting to record.
Dude, I'll tell you, I recorded a lot of the war. I recorded maybe half of what actually happened, which is kind of nuts that like half of it I didn't record, or like, cause like, look, I gotta live life too, right? So I'm like mobile, I'm out and about, I'm doing stuff, and like I pop in where I can. And I'm still on only day 3 of the war. And there's like 5 days of footage that I have. Maybe I'm on day 4, but like you get the idea, right? Like
crazy.
There's so much to cover. It's the most intense 4 days of gaming I think I have ever had in my entire life of any game ever. That includes like end game World of Warcraft raiding. That includes arena gladiator pushing in World of Warcraft. Like the most intense 4 days, period.
Of course. There's one thing to keep in mind is that, and this is really one of the coolest things about these types of games. Yes, pay to win sucks, of course, sure. Spending money is what you need to do, and some people don't like that. But the thing is, once you invest real money into something, it's kind of like playing the stock market. A lot of people tell you, oh, you want to learn the stock market? There's this simulator. Go ahead and start learning with a simulator. When it's not your money, you don't really care. But once you spent the amount of money you have spent, I have spent on an account, you are very invested in its well-being. So every time that's being threatened, it's like this rush of adrenaline of, okay, the next move could cost $1,100 out the window right here. So
yeah.
And it gets very interesting because you can't know what the other team is doing. So
I mentioned this. You know, I gave some feedback around what, you know, potentially KVK might be, and I said, hey, like, you know, based on my experience in this war, something worth thinking about is that, you know, look, when you're choosing to defend a rally or not, that's like $1,000 decision or a $10,000 decision in terms of the cost in troop deaths and resources to your alliance.
Right.
Which is weird to think about it that way, but it like kind of is, because like, look, most players aren't spending that kind of money on building up their troops. But you know, to think about the money equivalent of all those things is not a good idea. I didn't do that at all during the war, and in hindsight, I'm like, whoa, this is weird. Hey, we got a question coming in that I think is interesting and relevant here. Someone's asking for a video for the best commanders for defending and attacking buildings in Osiris. I actually have a video already on best attackers. You should check that out. But let's talk about best defenders. Best building defender commanders and combinations in Ark of Osiris. I'll say, I'll kick it off by saying broadly, there's a couple ways to think about that. One way you can think about it is by saying, okay, let's focus on the different types of troops. You could bring a mixed army, in which case you want commanders that focused on that. You could request everybody to bring cavalry, you could request infantry, or you could request archers. So with that context said, what do you think is better? Mixed armies or armies dedicated to a specific type of unit?
So here's the thing about that, and that's something that I'm really glad we're talking about, because again, there is a huge thing in the community where we all know that a set of troops, especially a set of troops, will always do better. We have 101 explanations why, from, hey, cavalry is much faster when it's only cavalry, infantry is very strong against cavalry once it's all infantry. We know these things, but the bottom line is very simple. I would go ahead and say that at this size of alliances, there is not enough troops that people have to make dedicated marches. A big part of this game doesn't have enough troops to make dedicated marches. We are relatively new. The older generation of Rise of Civilizations, there's 250 kingdoms. You know, there's more people who are here after us than us, and even some of the people that have been with us still can't make a full set of troops. So when I look at these things, I say the majority will most likely have to go with mix.
Yeah, I think mix is the play, and here's why. The argument for using a single type of troop is that you get some buffs and advantages that you wouldn't otherwise necessarily get. For instance, talent point for talent point, you get more stats in the cavalry tree if you bring only cavalry than if you bring different types of units. Right? Because, like, you know, you get like 1% of whatever the stat is rather than 0.5% for all types of units. But that said, I think the reality is that in most situations, their armies are all over the place. To commit like one type of army is kind of tough. And if you look at the talents, often not all of the talents are even all that good. Right? So I think almost every talent is good in the leadership tree and in the attack tree. But, like, for instance, charge in the cavalry tree, that's 3 talent points for movement speed that are, like, completely irrelevant. Let's take a look at the infantry tree. One of their talents slows the enemy. That's not relevant for a rally. That's like 4 or 5 talent points wasted. So I think that while there are definite efficiencies by going to a specific type of unit, there's also inefficiencies baked in there. And so I think it's a lot easier to have a mixed army anyways. The question then becomes, how many relevant skills can you have with your mixed army?
So, Chisgule, just because I have OCD and I'm a very, very big, I can't do one thing at a time.
All right.
I sent you a link, which let me know what you see, and you can send it onto your chat. I'm sending it on my chat. I set up a double stream viewing experience, which I know it's a little bit too late as we have 8 minutes left on this thing, but if we do this again next time around, that's where people should be at, as we can see both of us at the same time, see both the perspectives, and well, have one of the chats on the screen as well. So
all right, I dropped the link into my chat so folks can check that out. I haven't looked at it yet myself.
it's just that our streams run next to each other on a black on a black background, pretty much. Yeah, but going back, what? Go ahead.
With that link, I was told access denied.
Really?
Maybe you got to sign in or something. I don't know.
God. Oh god.
We'll see. We'll see. Yes, Cage of Thorns is the talent I was referring to earlier. That, like, it's in the infantry tree. It's at the top of the tree, and it doesn't do anything if you're doing a rally of full infantry. Does not do anything. It's great in the open field. It's amazing in the open field. But for a rally, it's completely irrelevant. The movement speed of the stationary target does not matter. Does not matter. So
I'm seeing listen, I'm looking here at the gate, right? At the gate of the blue team, where the red team is just trying to chunk people and just get more kills. And I'm seeing a Baybars leading a rally, leading a march. That's an interesting one, you know? I have yet to see like people fully using the new commanders just yet in leading roles or in any roles, as it seems like most people still haven't focused their attention on the new commanders. But can we talk about the viability of a few of these new commanders in the Ark of Osiris? I mean,
sure.
Honestly, one of the things that I really want to point out, and I think is very important, is people are sleeping on Belisarius. People are sleeping on Belisarius, my man, because the thing about I think so, because the thing about capturing a building is that capturing a building is considered a battle.
Okay.
So if you get on the third skill when you're maxed out a march speed bonus of 25%, you can bounce between buildings on the Ark of Osiris.
Yeah, so the problem I have with Belisarius is that he is cavalry, mobility, and peacekeeping, which means you can make a commander that's really, really speedy and can get all over the place, but I'd rather have the skill tree. And the other problem I have with him is that his primary skill only has a 2-second duration. So you really want tons of rage generation, but he can't get that for you. And you really want him to be the primary with that allocation of a lot of what he's doing to being reducing the enemy's, I think it's defense, right? So that your follow-up attack is a big skill attack. That's what you want. But you can't do that with him because he doesn't have the skill tree to really like power that out and make that really strong. So he's got an attack reduction, a defense reduction, and the direct damage factor. I guess if you're swarming targets anyways and there's multiple armies involved, then you don't care as much having him as the secondary. I do think people are sleeping on new commanders, but the one I think they're sleeping on is actually Baybars.
Baybars?
Mm-hmm.
Why do you think that? Because he like, of course, you have a cavalry conquering skill commander. So you're saying the fact that he's a skill is what really interests you. Cavalry
skill, I'm in love with that. And his first skill reduces the march speed, which is huge in Ark. And it does AoE, which is huge in Ark. It does the same thing that you were just describing with getting a benefit at the end of combat. And cavalry, I think, is... I mean, both are cavalry commanders, right? But I really like this guy a lot. His expertise skill makes it so that you do more AoE damage, and it's a 50% march speed reduction.
Here's the thing, though. You know what's crazy? If you look at the upon leaving a battle, you get a little bit of healing factor and a little bit of march speed up. That's his last skill.
Yeah.
Leaving a march doesn't mean you have to win or lose. So in theory,
correct,
if you're at the door right now with a red team, if you have Baybar is leading and he's starting to get a little bit low on troops, you can literally start hitting every single thing, every single march around, and every time he leaves a battle to go from fighting one to the other, the skill should be triggered. I'm interested if that should work. If you can actually start spamming in between them blue marches, not really caring about the damage, but just initiating battles and then finishing them.
I mean, technically, I think you could do the same thing with Lohar, right? Not that I'm saying you should use Lohar, but like, it's the same idea.
You have no idea how many people use Lohar on the Ark of Osiris. I stopped commenting about it because I'll tell you what, I could see a very, very, very small role for our boy Lohar in Ark of Osiris, and that is the same concept as Ronnie's punching bag.
Go on.
We're talking about a Lohar Richard combo, kind of like we do with Barbarians. That should be stacking heals. that should be just stacking heals. The problem with that is, again, you're going to need a Joan of Arc. You're going to need someone around you. If you send a Lohar into that door right now with a Richard, I wonder how long he'll last up there.
I mean...
With mixed troops, of course. We're not pushing into anything. This is like a low-budget third march type of thing, or even second, you know? Like when you don't have enough troops for a third proper march, you throw in Lohar, you throw in Richard, everything you got in there.
Check out this obelisk up in the upper right. There's a rally going in to take it back.
Oh, that's cute.
I mean, it's both cute and good, it looks like. They're using Scipio as the primary commander. Oh no, it might just be cute.
I think they're using Richard.
Doing work, but they're not.
I think they're using Richard.
The defense has Richard.
Oh yeah, there's a Richard on top of the rally too.
The rally's got the Scipio. So Scipio's an interesting commander. I don't love him. I mean, his first skill's good. First skill's great. It lasts 5 seconds, increases counterattack, reduces damage taken. That's like A++++. But second skill makes it so that, first of all, like, you have a chance to do more attack. That's good. Not great in a rally, though. Like, that second skill is really good when you're getting hit by many armies, which, like, a rally should only be getting hit by one army. Of course, that's not the case here. The rally's getting swarmed as well, so I guess they're getting value. Yeah. And the other piece of the puzzle is the more you're getting hit, you have a chance to heal, which is also not all that amazing for a rally because it shouldn't be getting swarmed. It happens to be here, which is fascinating. Maybe rallies get swarmed more than I would expect. The third skill is related to attacking cities, which is really not relevant. The fourth skill means that you can bring more troops, which I keep saying is not relevant, except it actually is kind of relevant because there were only 3 or 4 people that attended that rally. So it wasn't going to be a full rally. So actually your bringing more troops is kind of relevant. But I'd rather that fourth skill be something that amplifies the effectiveness of everyone in the rally. You see what I mean?
When you say that, I completely agree when we're not at the Ark. Because at the Ark, the whole point is solo points and group points. At this stage, the group points are over. Alliance points are over. The blue team is trying to put as many armies out there fighting and doing damage. I think using Scipio in this situation was a really good idea. I think that for the rally, correct. I think that they knew that this was going on. Look at how many red marches are out there. They knew they were going to get swarmed. They knew that they would need as many bodies in there as possible, and they want to get as many members involved in the war. So by sending an extra, even if they had what's his face, and now his name Osman in the background, just to get more troops as this arc is over. I think that was a good call. Look at the amount of kills, though.
Ooh.
Damn.
Total kills. It's close. Well, I mean, there's more for HAKA, but it's closer than you would think, right?
In heals, though, we have a much closer thing. Look at how many. There's 2 million unaccounted for in here. That stayed.
So here's the problem with healing is that once you realize you're not going to win, you really need to stop using your healing speed ups. Do you see what I mean? The second you realize this is a truly unwinnable fight, you have to stop using your healing speed ups. On the flip side, that guarantees you lose the fight. So at some point, you just got to make the call. Look at the provision score. That is surprising. I was
just waiting for you to finish to mention that. That right there, I'm telling you, I've been telling this to people, and I've been getting like a little bit of a negative feedback from my Alliance R4 saying that that really doesn't matter. I'm telling you, man, people are sleeping on the provisions. Provisions have so much to give. So much to give. You don't have enough marches. Guys, let's be real. Most of us don't have enough marches to send 5 marches out to the Ark. Come on, man. Like, send 2 marches together. That's all you need.
Yeah.
That's that.
Yeah. I agree. I mean, I think I'm going to start sending only 1 march to gather because I'm going to have my siege units somewhere on the map that is productive rather than... I mean, my city's going to basically be empty. Well, I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't be saying that because now my city is going to get attacked a whole heck of a lot. Right? Like, how many troops need to be in your city is kind of an interesting question. Probably not that many. Looks like T. Grumpy from HAKA's got a score of almost 56,000, which is pretty big.
This is unbelievable.
And more than 50% of their members broke that 10K mark to get the full rewards from the Ark of Osiris.
Listen, You guys think 10K is easy, and a lot of people say 10K is easy. You have no idea how hard it is to get that 10K if you are not heavily loaded on troops, because the only way to get there is by severe damage. And the red team had a very strong dominating end, so it was like, okay, we can send even the little guys inside a rally just to get more points. But when it's a much closer fight, it is so much harder to translate your troops into solo points and being able to play the whole time.
Yeah.
So Chisgule, while we're wrapping this up, I'm trying to get that multi-stream to work, because I think that this was really cool. And as far as I'm concerned, I believe we'll see this happening again in the future. So hopefully next time people will be able to watch both the cameras at the same time, have one sound in the back. And soon enough, we'll have like 6-7 cameras on Ark of Osiris. Big boy production, I'm telling you.
Yeah, I think it'd be pretty sweet. I appreciate everybody's patience as we sorted out the challenge using Discord at the same time as we were streaming. I can tell you that like I've done collaborations with Echo Gaming and a number of other folks in the past where we used Discord in the exact same way that we were trying to do here. So I guess streaming was a little bit challenging. So voice worked though.
I'll tell you this. One more thing that you got to keep in mind. I live across the world.
Oh, you do live on the other side of the world.
I live 6,000 miles away from you. So the internet is a little iffy. You know, got to go under the water, under the ocean to get through us somehow through the fiber cables that I don't have here.
True enough. Is there anything else we want to cover to wrap up the Ark of Osiris
Anyone
coverage?
has any questions, comments? Someone left a question on my chat saying, is Richard, and Dennis, I'm really sorry I missed this out. It was a little bit ago. Is Richard the best legendary commander with 5111 setup, or is there a better commander as a 5111? What do you think?
I think Richard is one of the best commanders in the game, and is also coincidentally one of the best commanders for doing stuff in Ark of Osiris, because you can create a situation where all of the skills are relevant. All of the skills are relevant. Let's just get a quick look at Richard the First, right? So we'll pull him up. First skill. Heals, reduces damage, reduces march speed. All relevant, except in a rally capacity, I guess, and in a defense capacity, but very little of his first skill is about march speed reduction, right? Second skill, all relevant. Reduces damage taken and gives you a counterattack damage boost. Third skill, infantry. Defense and attack, all relevant. Fourth skill, healing effect enhancement. And I guess damage from watchtowers is not relevant, because I don't think there is a watchtower. Yeah, but like everything here is relevant. Almost all the time.
Okay.
Sometimes more, sometimes less when you're attacking cities or not, right? Like when you attack a city, the watchtower reduction is relevant, whereas the march speed is not. But like, I think Richard is one of the best commanders in the game because everything is relevant all the time. So I think a 5111 Richard can be pretty good. That said, I almost think that 2 expertise epics might just be better. You know what I mean?
I completely agree. I completely agree. See, I don't think there's one commander, okay, one commander that we could make the case about a 5111 counter to Richard, because that's his job. That is what he was meant to do, to counter Richard, and that's Saladin. And even there, healing effect reduction of 40% cuts out your healing. As it first of all completely denies the extra 4th skill from Richard, and on top of that cuts up a little bit more of his first skill healing factor. Direct damage is pretty absurd at 1400, and add to that a march speed reduction. It locks your infantries in. So I think that if you're gonna go 5111 1v1s, then I think that a Richard versus a Saladin can be really interesting, because Richard will have the troops that will beat Saladin's in terms of which troop has the advantage, infantry over cavalry. But Saladin is no joke to try to slow down the effects that Richard has.
You know, I think that at this stage, the conclusion I've generally been arriving at, looking at an expertise epic versus a 5111 legendary, is that, you know, you need to be like 5311 on the legendary before it starts to become really clear that the legendary is the better play. And that depends on what the second skill actually is, right? Like if it's just a barbarian skill, that might not be the case for PvP, but you get the idea, right? That like I think 5-3-1-1 is about where you cross over to the point where legendaries are definitely better than expertise epics. And for that reason, like I think most folks should be using expertise epics.
I completely agree. And you know, you touched on a point very briefly that is a very interesting mechanic that people really don't see. Cao Cao is by far the second strongest commander at this point. If we go look at the data, and there is a spreadsheet, the Chisgule, I can send you the spreadsheet at some point that the guys from Legends Gaming and Everything ROC created, which really shows you the damage that these commanders do based on different types of troops. Cao Cao is at second place. Cao Cao is almost as strong as Richard when it comes to damage dealt. But the interesting thing is Cao Cao's counter to that is just what you mentioned. The second skill is all about barbarians. And the same thing can be said about Manimoto. The same thing. Well, sorry, Manimoto is technically third. So that can be said again about Manimoto when his final skill, because when you place a barbarian skill in the middle, you're just making it much harder to get to the next skill. That's all it is. So it's a way to make them a little bit more expensive to make them good. So in Cao Cao's case, you'd really need a 5-5-3-1 to make him really worth it.
Do you have the link for that spreadsheet handy? I've got a comment in the chat that folks would like to get a look at that spreadsheet while we're chatting.
I have to go look for it.
Cool. We'll put it into my Discord later today, and I'll make sure you get that, JK Nerdy. I'm just now, as we're winding down.
By the way, they can just go to the Legends Gaming Discord channel, and they'll have all the links and everything those guys do there. That's just a thought too. I can send you a link to that. It'll be much easier for them to actually ask, for the people who are interested in these things, to join that group and ask questions, figure out things, because they're very, very active. These guys are all about this game. So I messaged you the Discord, and I also messaged you a multi-stream that works. So for the future, we'll have that running as well. And I'll make sure that next time we do this, we'll spread the word about that multi-stream, and then everyone sees everything.
I like the folks at Legends Gaming. I think at one point they were doing their jumper group. Did you go with them for that?
Mm-hmm. My jumper account is there with them.
They asked me. They were like, "Hey, do you want to do this thing with us?" And it was very tempting. It was very tempting. The problem is that I'd already spent a lot of money on my account, and like the way I play games, like I stick to my one account and I push really hard.
So I did the same thing as you are saying on Lord's Mobile. I always get sick when I say that name. I did the same thing on that game, and what ended up happening is that the early mistakes I made really hurt me later on. So when they gave me this opportunity to jump with them, I thought about it and I said, listen, the big account will most likely get tier 5s first. The big account will get ahead, but the big account is full of mistakes. And initially I wanted to do like kind of like what Shinchi is doing now, like a daily series about the jumper. But somehow the jumper ended up becoming my baby. The jumper already has Richard maxed, and it was before the second Real Fortune by Richard. It's pushing up. It's City Hall 23. It's got tons of, it's like the Prodigy. The big account is the one that's going to get to tier 5s first, but once the jumper gets there, it'll knock that big account out the window. Yeah,
that's interesting. I mean, like, I didn't really make a bunch of mistakes in the early game. So
Chisgule, I'm sorry. I can't be as studious as you, man. Like I knew from the first video I saw this guy making, I was like, what? He's been playing this game for how long? 2 days, and he already knows all this? Like you went in and just dug your feet in here, man. And
my mistake was not spending all the money I spent just a little bit sooner.
Exactly.
Right? Exactly. Like all the same spending earlier in the game would have gone like not that it would have gone further exactly. In fact, technically doing it later on has gone further because I can use a kingdom buff and I can use a 15% rune and all that kind of stuff. But like if I had been powered up earlier, like you have an edge over other players in a way that's kind of a big deal. On the topic of commander questions, One person's asking if a 5-1-5-1 Minamoto will be good for PvP or PvE. Definitely PvE, slam dunk. In PvP, I think you're better off with an expertise epic, because that third skill is barbarian damage, so you're better off with an expertise epic for PvP. In a similar vein, is a 5-1-1-1 Richard better than a 5-5-5-1 Sun Tzu? Oh no, that's not the question. Is a 5-1-1 Richard and a 5-5-5-1 Sun Tzu good as garrison commanders? They're good garrison commanders. The problem is that, no, actually I think that's great. Everything about that's great. Sun Tzu's fourth skill elevates the damage of the primary attack, which is kind of irrelevant for Richard the First. But guess what? That fourth skill is the one that's at 1. So sure, use them together. That's fine.
See,
it's totally fine.
I really think people do sleep on the epic commanders. I really think people do sleep on the epic commanders a little bit, because they really are focused on the hardest thing in this game, which is maxing out legendary commanders. And on a video I just made recently on my free-to-play account, I explained why I did spin the wheel for Richard as a free-to-play member. And the reason for that is, again, when we got so many awesome legendary commander sculptures for so cheap, it's absolutely a no-brainer to go for them. Even someone like Richard, who will be probably a 5-1-1-1 there forever. But on that same topic, epic commanders come out by the masses, doing your dailies, the weekly commanders and expeditions. If you have enough expedition coins, you can get a ton of those every week. So I think people really should start looking at their epics a little more and maxing those out as fast as possible. That's what I've been focusing on the big account, quite honestly, on just maxing out as many epics as possible.
Dude, we got started at such a good time. Because, like, when we got started, right, like, Halloween, Thanksgiving,
we didn't miss a single skin. We didn't miss like skins.
100 epic sculptures, 100 epic sculptures. I mean, like, we just, like, powered through. By the way, what I'm looking at right now, which may be sort of interesting to folks, is that if you go to your Alliance technology, we have maxed out every bit of Alliance technology that you can max out that doesn't require gold, except for the Alliance skills in the development tree and in the territory tree. So if you can believe it, we've gotten to a point where, like, every single thing we've applied the tech points to, so that all we have to do is when we decide we're ready to research it, we can. We're building flags right now because we got places to go. We got places to be. So we're not actually researching a bunch of stuff, really, because we need the gold for flags. But what you can do in that situation, if you've already maxed out things like, let's see here, I believe it was Conqueror and Artisan Spirit, those also don't require gold. But Alliance Skill 3 in the territory, or sorry, Alliance Skill in the territory tree and the development trees, those don't require gold, so we're maxing those out now too. So whenever they add those, we'll have them maxed.
So, you know, one of the crazy things I've heard, and I need to get in touch with my guy out there to make sure this is true, so I might be spreading rumors, so don't hate on me. But it seems like JWM, one of the strongest alliance, I think, in the game at this point, or they have a very, very brutal reputation. These guys are very strong people. Ronnie casted their Ark of Osiris last week, I think, and they had over 1 billion power out of 30 people. It's like kind of insane. And I understood that they are right now finishing up their last alliance tech.
Wow.
Like the last one, JWM should be maxed out within the next few days completely on Alliance techs.
That's impressive.
How insane is that?
That's impressive. We're working on it. We got a lot of gold mines that we need to go and get. And like, we actually, I'll show kind of where I need to go build some flags later today.
And while you're getting there, I just wanted to point out one more thing. And that's that, have you opened up place the mother loads on your Alliance resources?
Yes.
Yeah, so that's one thing that people sleep on as well, I think. I think it'll take a little bit until people figure out that if you put on Alliance resource tile that's a mother load, you're actually gaining a lot of gold for your Alliance. So you shouldn't be only going for the wood, stone, food kind of thing. If you guys mix in some gold in between early on, you won't have that many gold issues later in the future. So that's also something to keep in mind. But go ahead.
Yeah.
We were seeing flags.
Yeah, well, I mean, we're just going to march toward this shrine here that gives 5% march speed because we don't have one of those yet. And we're just going to collect all the gold nodes on the way. And there's 5 or 6 more that we're going to get. It's going to put us over 80,000 gold per hour, which is pretty good. We could do better. I think the challenge a little bit is that our allies, LN2, have really like spread wide and far in our land where it'd be easiest for us to get some gold nodes, and
I love that.
They did such a great job in the last war. Like I'd feel like a real schmo being like, oh yeah, give us these gold nodes that you have now that are only 1 or 2 flags for us. You know what I mean? I'm not gonna do that.
You know,
I don't plan to.
This is something that I find really interesting about this game, because it's all good and dandy. You got the families, we all fight together, you know, we all love each other, all that good stuff, yeah, whatever. Here's the deal. Once we gotta get to the point where, you know, we need more gold or you need more gold, oh, buddy, things are gonna get a little bit nastier, because while you are a good guy, and we all know you are a good guy, I mean, come on, this guy opens up his video and closes out his video on a smile on his face the whole time. But people are not that nice. I've seen alliances cutting and destroying other family alliances just to make things a little easier. As a matter of fact, in Kingdom 58, there was a big alliance at some point that they had 3 flags to some altar. And one of the family alliances from High wanted to just cross that, you know, to get a little bit closer to the temple, and they wouldn't let them. So these guys actually built like, I think 15 or 16 extra flags just to go around the 2 flags.
Whew.
So
yeah,
I don't know.
It's tough. It's tough. I'll point out, like right now, one of the things we're thinking about is that we built this fortress way off to the side to get a 5% training speed, which is super crucial,
of course,
and 5% research speed. Crucial, right? So it was worth a fort.
Chisgule, would you mind if I put on your stream on my screen for a second so people can see what you're talking about? If I can turn on your stream on my screen.
Oh yeah, sure, go for it.
That way people can know what you're talking about too.
Sure.
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
So we took 5% training, we took 5% science, and that was all we did. We built a fortress, we built like 15 or so flags to get those 2 things. 100% slam dunk worth it, but that locks in our 3rd fortress to that position.
Yeah.
So we're now getting to the point where we're going to build a bunch of flags to connect all of those other flags to our main land and our main territory and one of the other fortresses, which, you know, involved busting up a bunch of land that belonged to now one of our family of alliances, TXR. But like, we have to connect it. Like we're the strongest alliance in the kingdom. Like we need to do this. And I feel it's tough to take that
to tell
stance.
someone that, to tell that to someone.
Yeah.
I feel you.
Yeah. Like, but like in KVK, like, I don't know what that means or how this is going to go, but like, it could be that we have to defend the kingdom. Like, it's kind of important that we do this.
You know what, Chisgule, you opened up a door to a conversation that I know you might not want to do. You might not want to have.
Go ahead.
But we keep talking all and over about KVK throughout this whole stream, and we have yet to acknowledge KVK as a conversation topic, because it is so, other than knowing that it's coming in April at some point, which is what, 30 days that it can come at any point, we have no knowledge of what's going to happen. And I've been nagging a little bit to get more information about this, but they're being very, very, very stingy about it.
Well, there's little information that we have in game, but there is a piece of information we do have in game. If you go to territory buildings for your alliance, and you tap on the info button for the fortress, it says Alliance fortresses can also be built to create Alliance territory in other kingdoms. Coming soon. Now, that's been there for a very, very long time, and they can totally change the design of that if they want to. But that is why we feel we need to free up our third fortress, because we might need it for KVK, and we don't want that to be a totally last-minute insane scramble. I mean, we'll see. We'll wait. We're gonna wait a while. We got other places to go with our flags, but we're not gonna wait to the last second to make that connection. We're probably gonna free that up a little bit sooner.
So if you ask me, you should have at least one fort available for sure, because regardless, if whoever fought you guys, whatever they call themselves at this point, or maybe they'll unite to be something else, you guys are in an active kingdom, man. You guys reached, are still in a fight, getting to your thing. This can go sideways very quickly. Like, your enemies can decide to sneak attack on you at any point, and not having a center fortress ready to be instantly placed somewhere for defense or for counter offense can be really rough for you to hold up until KVK. But going back to KVK, did you notice? Yeah, go ahead.
We may actually destroy our second fortress too, honestly.
That makes a lot more sense. That makes so much more sense. I just saw that too. It's like, that's 2 flags that you can place in there and that fortress is gone.
Yeah. That's probably the first one to do.
So going back to KVK really quickly, I've noticed an interesting pattern that I'm pretty sure a lot of people did, but would you mind clicking on the world button for a second?
Yeah.
So you can see a continent is made out of 8 kingdoms. Now, I believe that kingdom versus kingdom will not be cross-continent, because this is just another layer of event. If you're looking at it at a marketing perspective, kingdom versus kingdom is one event, and then later on they can grow into continent versus continent competitions. Okay,
sure.
So the way I think things are going to go is it's going to be the continent fighting each other. And now, if you would mind, just zoom out and start going across the kingdoms in your city. I don't know if you know where you are placed, but the way it looks like it is that what they set up the continent to be 3 rows of 3. So it's like a 3x3 box. Yeah, I don't know where you're located in the box, but the center... If you scroll around them, you'll see you're observing other kingdoms. But if you go to the center tile, it is all fogged out, and you're not observing any kingdom. So I think that what KVK is gonna be is fighting for this right here. You'll be able to put center fortresses inside this map and work your way into the center, where there will be the continental castle, whatever the hell they want to call it, and we will have our overlords coming in there.
Okay, so now here's a question. This brings up some interesting questions. So, if all of that is true, let's run deep down that line of thinking. Let's assume all that's true. That would mean there's probably the whole same shrine, altar, song, and dance all over again.
Correct.
But who can actually go? Can one alliance go? And if you're building territory in this other area, like, you then teleport into that area, so you're either in your kingdom or you're in the kingdom versus kingdom area. And what happens if there's war in your kingdom?
So those are excellent questions, and I'm gonna have to once again bring out the cough out of me. In Lords Mobile, the way it worked is that usually kingdoms would cease fire. We had situations where we had a big Chinese alliance fighting against us, and it was huge wars going on. But whenever KVK happened, it was like an unspoken about truth, where we would fight. We wouldn't even fight each other on the other kingdom we were competing against. It was just like kingdom versus kingdom. Stop fighting, win the event, go back to fight after the event. And it wasn't something agreed upon. It was just, we will call it a gentleman's agreement, even though our leader was a lady. So really, it's not a gentleman. But anyway, you get my point.
Yeah.
Here's a speculation for you. Do you think we'll lose
troops? They could do something easy here. They could solve this in a really easy way. They could just make it so that, just like how these shrines and altars and even the Lost Temple is only capturable during a small time horizon, they could do the exact same thing for KVK, where like the critical things in the KVK areas are capturable only for certain time periods. And honestly, like I would almost hope that you could only build and make any progress at all in that KVK area, perhaps during certain time horizons. Otherwise, like, can you imagine if Mighty Governor aligns with when you need to be doing stuff in KVK? Like, how does that even supposed to work?
So I think we went deep into the rabbit hole, and I'm willing to go even further deeper. Okay,
we're too deep.
We're going in. Let me get my tinfoil hat out. I do have a little bit of tinfoil.
We've gone too far.
No, there's no way to go back. So the way I see it is KVK will be a multi-day event where essentially when the map opens up, you either port into the map or you stay in your kingdom. I think that the ability to port in will cost gems. I think that what they'll do to make sure that this is kind of like an event that's worth it for them, I think it'll cost a little bit of gems. I think that everybody will be able to afford it, but it kind of might be like one teleport of a cost that you allow yourself entry to go back and forth in between the kingdoms and then use your teleports as you wish. And from there, once the event ends, everything you built within the map goes away. All you get is if you have an altar, a shrine, or whatever building it is under your command, then you keep getting those buffs for a certain period of time, like you said. But everything that's in there goes away. And then every couple of weeks, maybe, there will be a new KVK where we'll be fighting for those buffs. And once the event ends, all the buildings, everything breaks, and we're back to scratch.
Could be. I mean, I'll point out that in the Lost Temple, there's a portal button.
Mm-hmm. Correct.
So that's probably how you might get there. And there's also a skill button. So, like, presumably, I really hope that there's not something that I need to spend gems on to, like, give our alliance, like, a 10% damage buff or something like that. Like, that's just, darn it, that's just gonna eat my gems.
Who told you to be king, my friend?
I already spent so many. I already spend so many on these different kingdom buffs, and I'm ramping that spending up. And I don't know. I bet that the skill thing it's got the research icon.
Mm-hmm.
The skill thing is the research icon, right? So that's probably more like technology.
I think that maybe we'll have a cool thing, kind of like, just like the technology, we'll have alliance technology, kingdom technology, where it'll cost millions and millions of points, and the whole kingdom can donate resources or whatever it is into it, so the kingdom gets stronger buffs. That could be pretty cool.
That could be super legit. Although, I don't know. What's a dead kingdom gonna do? They're just gone.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you know, that's another point. You said something very important there. Do you believe that kingdom versus kingdom is endgame? Meaning those who lose will quit, those who win will stay?
I hope not. My feedback was that they really should optimally create a situation where...
Holy crap, you got a lot of VIP points. Sorry for cursing.
Spoiler alert. I'm going to buy my way to 14. I already spent the gems.
This guy.
For Barca. I got an expertise video coming up, baby.
Look at you.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert, I have enough Legendary Commander sculptures that once Saladin shows up, he's maxed out on the spot.
Yeah. I spoiled it. I didn't mean to. So here's what my video is going to be, since we already have revealed it. I bought the VIP to get to 14. And what I'm going to show is...
I'm sorry, I'm getting blinded by all this gold. This shiny gold.
I know. I gemmed my way to don't try this at home. I gemmed my way to 14. It's such a bad idea. It's not value. So anyways, I'm gonna max the first skill, max the second skill. I've already got that on my Barca.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to show what that looks like. Then I'm going to show what the next VIP chest level purchase is going to look like. And it's like 5 more skills going here and here. Split across those. I'm going to do some PvE stuff, show what that looks like. Then I'm going to expertise him.
So that's why you still have a skill available and yet you haven't used it yet? Because you want to have 5/5? Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah, because I want to do it all in one video.
Yeah, so as I was mentioning, the plan for me is just straight up max out Saladin. So just like you said, every skill and see the damage effect change on the commander as you go with it. It's going to be pretty cool. We can actually do it on stream. That'd be really nice and people would enjoy.
Yeah.
So Chisgule, I'm not going to lie. We said, let's do a duo cast of the Ark. And I was kind of nervous because it was going to be really hard for us to coordinate who's watching what and what we're talking about. But it flew by really smoothly. I think that if we add on the multi-stream option where people go and watch the streams simultaneously one next to each other, we can actually take this to the next level. Next thing you know, we'll have like 6 different people commentating events. It's gonna be pretty cool. That's insane.
Yeah, this was fun. I say, perhaps we call it here. I got a ton of stuff I gotta go knock out. We got a bunch of people watching. Really appreciate your coming to watch. We covered a lot of stuff today. We covered Ark of Osiris. We spoiled my future video.
I'm the king of leaks, KVK. Baby. I am the king of leaks. Wherever I go, leaks happen. Chisgule's next video spoiled my next big title. What?
It's not my next video. I was planning to do it a little bit later, but like, yeah, because I still have so much of the Marvel stuff I need to do.
Unbelievable. You have a backlog for a little while now.
I have 2 weeks of backlog, easy. Right? Like all next week is going to be Monday or Tuesday is going to be the springtime event. Everything else I'm going to fill in with the Marvel stuff. Then somewhere along the way, I'm going to expertise Barca and just show what that looks like. And then every weekend, it's Ark of Osiris.
Yup. And man, I'm going to tell you, one of the more fun things to do is cast these things. I need to figure out who I'm casting next in a little bit. There is another Ark of Osiris coming up. If you're available, I'll get in touch with you then as well. Chisgule, it's been such a pleasure. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you guys enjoyed the stream, the double stream. I guess I'll sign off first. Again, thank you, Chisgule, for this. It was really, really fun. We should totally do it again. And next time we'll figure out how to get the cameras working too.
Yeah.
Anyone from my channel who is not subscribed to Chisgule, which is not a thing, go check out Chisgule Gaming, man. Great guy, great content. I keep sitting at work watching your videos, and it's really annoying because I usually watch videos by minimizing them and just listening, but I cannot not watch at the same time. So like a lot of people know who you are that work with me because they see your videos on my monitor all the time. They're like, that guy again? I'm like, yeah, that guy. So Chisgule, thank you very much, man. We'll talk more. Chat, guys, thank you guys for being here. I'll see you guys sooner rather than later. We'll be streaming once again another Ark of Osiris. Take care. Have a great rest of your weekend. Peace.
Take care, Gecko. Thanks again for having me. This was fun.
Later, Chisgule. Thanks again, man.